Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for a comprehensive look at Chelsea's January transfer window. I tried to film this video on the 1st of January and there were so many different issues with it. I recorded it 5 times, not a single take was one that I could have uploaded due to many different technical reasons. But in the process of having an extra now 2 days since the ending of the window to record, it's kind of let things settle a little bit. At the end of deadline day, there was very much a dominant theme amongst Chelsea fans on social media, which is obviously the platform where we as the fans have the easiest access of expressing how we feel about what our club are doing or what our club have done. And the overriding emotion has been the one that why didn't we spend any money in January? We've got Ben Chilwell out for the season, Marcus Alonso as a left wing back who, as a club and as a fan base, we're not entirely convinced that he's the guy to not only get us top 4 but retain our Champions League, try and win a League Cup final and try and win an FA Cup and a Club World Cup. Chelsea have got so much to play for still. I do believe, personally, if I was to really narrow it down to one point, that we should have spent some money on a left wing back in January. We should have strengthened in this position, backed Thomas Tuchel, but we didn't do so, which is why me and a lot of other Chelsea fans are frustrated with what seems to be a lack of ambition from our board. But at the same time, there are many different variables that need to be taken into account when it comes to making a judgment about Chelsea's January or lack of January business. So within this video today, I do want to go into those in a bit more detail. I want to talk about the players that we did sign quite quickly, very briefly. We bought some youth players in January, not first team members, but players that were wanted by many different Premier League clubs. And we ended up bringing them in. They're not going to be featuring in the first team, so I'll talk about them in a bit more detail when we go through some more of the up-and-coming youngsters in a future video. In terms of outgoings, there were a few loans for players that will probably, in my mind, never play for Chelsea. But one that is quite interesting is Tino Anjorin, who came back from Lokomotiv Moscow. He went on loan to Huddersfield, which is where Levi Colwill also is. So if you're a Chelsea fan, keep an eye on Huddersfield's results, fixtures and games in the Championship between now and the end of the season. So, devil's advocate. This is the role that a YouTuber who wants to kind of be balanced on things needs to play at some point. So January windows are the most difficult time in the footballing world to make transfers. The most difficult time is from the end of the window until it opens again because you can't sign players. But in terms of what is the best window, the summer window is always better. Teams are not in the middle of the season. There are teams that at this point cannot sell because they do not have either the money or a player in backup to actually come in when a team like Chelsea are banging on the door saying, we want to bring this player in. Chelsea struggled because we wanted Emerson back at the club. Emerson's on loan at Lyon, and it was reported quite deeply that the agreement that Lyon have for Emerson is very watertight. It made it very difficult for Chelsea to actually go and bring Emerson back. Emerson apparently was open to the move back, as it would have probably given him an opportunity, or at least a final opportunity to stake a claim under Thomas Tuchel's plans. If Emerson would have came in, would have become a solid left wing back / left back for the remainder of the season, then Thomas Tuchel might look at it and think towards next summer and say to the club, well, you know what, like Emerson is a pretty decent player. Ben Chilwell's obviously the number one, but I'm happy to have Emerson as a backup. I don't think that would have happened. I think it would have been a temporary fix to what in the long term will certainly need to be Chelsea investing or relying on a younger player to come up through the academy to give Ben Chilwell that solidified backup. Marcus Alonso, it seems like everybody's just disregarding Alonso as a useless player at this point, which certainly isn't the case. But I think it's been highly documented by myself, highly documented by everybody else who has an opinion on Chelsea, that with the way that we want to play, fast-paced, up and down wing-backs are certainly one of the most important features of a Thomas Tuchel Chelsea team. And Marcus Alonso, since the moment he came in, all those years ago now, it's such a long time ago, he's never been that guy. So Emerson is a bit quicker, is a bit more agile. I saw that Lyon actually played him as a left forward, I think last night or the day before. So he certainly fits the mould of what Tuchel wants, but I think we kind of let the ship sail a bit too late. We made it difficult for ourselves, and the fact we didn't go in for a single player now means that between now and the end of the season, the board have either got to understand that Thomas Tuchel wanted to bring Emerson to the club, so if it doesn't work out and we keep getting caught on that left-hand side, then we can't really blame the manager. I think Tuchel would have made it very clear he wanted Emerson back at the club as an option, and Marcos Alonso, he is that kind of on-the-fence player where we don't know game by game what we're going to get. But back to the point about the January window, the good news about Chelsea not spending any money whatsoever in terms of first-team players is that, as a result of which, we didn't panic buy anybody. Which, with the way that Chelsea do business, Fabrizio Romano said it himself, we're incredibly slow. We like to really make sure that everything is perfectly aligned before we go out and we sign a player with a pen like the one that Benson always holds in his videos. I don't know why I do that. Until it's signed on the dotted line, Chelsea love to take their time with their transfer business. And with January, with clubs being reluctant to sell players if they don't have someone ready to come in, the prices, they get much higher. The question also right now is, are the signings that Chelsea are going to make Thomas Tuchel signings or Chelsea board signings? And I think the fact we didn't sign anybody means that at least the board aren't going and just saying like, right, we need this, we need that. Tuchel's like, no, we need Emerson, we need our player back. The board haven't gone out and spent a load of money on a player that would A, potentially be a massive risk, or B, it's a position where in the summer, when we really nail down how to improve this Chelsea team, it is being heavily reported that Tuchel wants Jules Koundé, Declan Rice, and another player, who at this point in time, it could be a mixture. It could be Dembele, could be a striker if the Lukaku thing rears its head again. We don't know at this point, but Koundé and Declan Rice are going to be two players where Chelsea will have to spend in excess of £100 million combined to bring those two players to the club. So we had to be very careful financially during this January to make sure that we didn't overspend so that next summer we can get those top targets that we don't just see as immediate replacements in the first team, but as serious long-term players who will have a huge impact if Thomas Tuchel is to stay at the club. So, in terms of my position of what I think about Chelsea's window, I do believe we should have signed somebody. I do think there should have been either a more concerted effort to get Emerson back, whether that was to offer Leon more compensation for the interim, or to maybe go and try and pursue a defender on loan. There were Nicola Tagliafico links. Barcelona wanted him on loan. Ajax just want to sell. Chelsea will not want to buy Tagliafico. Tagliafico probably wouldn't want to come unless it was a loan, because he knows that when Ben Chilwell comes back, he's the number one. Serginho Dest was also reported from Barcelona. American youngster, very decent player, can play on the right or the left-hand side. But again, Barcelona are looking to sell players in order to raise funds for the massive rebuild that they need to do under Xavi at the club. So Chelsea were in a sticky situation. I'm glad also that we didn't go and buy Dembele. Now that it's all been said and done, as much as the left wing back is the one that we really needed to focus on, I'm glad Dembele didn't come in January. I think in order for Dembele to come in, at the moment, there is unrest with the attacking players at Chelsea. There are many players who strongly consider that they're not getting the minutes they deserve. You bring in another player in January and just throw it into the mix without selling anyone, and I think it makes things even more difficult, not only for Tuchel to pick, but that unrest suddenly just expands again because there is yet another player who is concerned about their game time, let alone all of the worries with injuries. And if we were to bring in Dembele, we'd have had to pay for him during this January, which absolutely coincides with everything else I said in this video today about Chelsea focusing forward on those two key players at least, Koundé and Rice, for the summer. That is what I believe we're going to go for. Going to make a statement now. Now that this window is done, now that we didn't spend any money, West Ham, they had another poor window too. They didn't really show that kind of belief that if they invested, they could end up getting top four. I think that is going to upset Declan Rice, and I think come the end of the season when West Ham miss out on the top four, because I think they will, Declan's going to want to go, and I think Chelsea will be in pole position to go out there and sign him. So, as much as I made it clear that I think we should have brought in a left wing back, hopefully the devil's advocate side of things here, which is going against the consensus of it was a dreadful window. It was a bad window in the sense of we didn't tick off that one box that was desperately needed. But I think looking forward, there are going to be some positives retrospectively that Chelsea can look at from the lack of business in this January window, moving in to secure Thomas Tuchel's top targets in the summer. It can certainly be seen that the board didn't back the manager during this window. I can absolutely see why someone would believe that, but at this point in time, we're now into February, we've got a Club World Cup to win, and then we really have won it all. So let's look forward to that. Let me know your thoughts on the overall window for Chelsea in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. New video coming out tomorrow. See you guys there. Come on, you Blues.